Welcome back to Stationeers, and I got a really good tip from a commenter just while I was just reading it, so I thought I'd share that with you. Remember how I keep building like logic readers and writers, and slot readers everywhere just to inspect what devices are capable of doing? Well, apparently there is a configuration cartridge that you can swap into your tablet that will do presumably some of the same things. So let's give that a go. Swap the atmospheric analyzer out and put the configuration analyzer in and turn it on. Okay, so that's not showing anything right now. If we go over to our sorter, yep, there we go. That's good. So you can see all of the different attributes all at once. So you'll see mode is switching between 0 and 1 because it's going through our program and assessing things. On is 1, output 0, powers 1, required powers 5. Really like this thing. This has saved me so much time building these things. And you can see pretty much with any device you point it at what everything is set to. Now you can't necessarily see anything to do with what each of these things does, and that's my only downside at the moment. You sort of have to figure things out for yourself, but then you have people like me that come along and do videos, and there's another guy doing the Reddit sort of videos as well. I can never remember the guy's name, but yeah, look on Reddit, you'll see his videos as well. Where was I? Yes, so we've got that available. What I'd like to do today, I think, is extend this to have a requester station. It'll let me dump anything out that I want, i.e. the ingots mainly, and it will also let me do that controllably. I think what I may well do is also look at pressure plates instead of motion sensors, but I'll do that off camera and put them like there, so I just stand on them. It saves this getting, triggered by anything else. You have to explicitly stand on the pressure plate to actually get that to happen. So, but that's not something I'll cover on camera. It's a fairly minor change. Yes, so what I wanted to do today is that sort of the requester system. To let me dump a specific ingot out of the system, if in case I want it elsewhere, or in case I want to manage the amounts and stuff like that. I just want to be able to pull the stuff out of the system. Now, yes, you could have a switch that just empties all the ingots out, and I may well need to do that if I need any of the stuff in there before we get to that requester station. But in any case, I'd like to be able to push a button and have it drop iron into my lap, and then everything else just continues back into the machines. So let me get a few pieces set up, and I think I'm going to need to make some more electrum because I'm out of IC chips, and I'm going to need at least one, maybe two. Let me tell you what the initial problem is, and then, well, you'll see how I solve it, but you may have a better solution yourself. I'm going to need to be able to push a button for iron, and a button for gold, and a button for copper, and a button for silver, and other stuff. Now, it may well be that there's only a few of those to get started, which won't be much of an issue. We can just build a logic switch. So if I just grab you, and we'll just put them on the wall over here so you'll see what I mean. So if I want to switch, there is a dial as well, but a button, sorry, not a switch. Or a lever, but a button in this case should be enough. If we put a button down, or even a lever might be actually just as good for this use case because we can continually check the state of a lever. So if I label this iron with some kind of sign, I'm not sure what signs are available in the game because I hardly ever use them, but I should use them more. Then I can just pull this next to the word iron, and then we can continually check this, and it then loops everything around and dumps out only when it hits iron, because we can use a modified version of the code that we've got for this sorter here for this station now. We've got that developed. But that means for every type of ingot, and let me just see, I think they're in the electronics at the moment. That's 6 types of ingot. And those are, there's going to be 7 once I had electrum in there. So unless I, well, looking at the IC housing, if I just build that on the wall, you'll see there are only 6 inputs for me to monitor. So if we only require up to 6, it's relatively straightforward. I hook each switch to one pin, and that pin will tell me, what thing has been requested. Fair enough. If I want to have more than 6, what I'm probably going to need to do is have a second IC. I think. Maybe. So instead, what we can actually do is we can just use the base. All we want is one output value. So we can use the housing itself's output. It's currently 0. That's the SDB command when you're in the actual IC. to store which one of these things it is. Now, of course, you can use a dial, but who wants a dial? You have to remember which each of the settings are. So if we have switches like the levers, we can basically say on each of these which one is being pulled, and depending on which one's being pulled, we can set this to a number. Of course, we're only going to have maybe 0 through to 6 or 7 values, 0 being none of them are actually pushed, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. That's 7 values, and we know then which one of those. And then we're going to need to take that value, and then we're going to need another IC to take that value. Now, the next alternate thing is what happens if we have another set? Well, the simplest thing is, again, to add a third circuit and just modify the program so it's 0, but then the next value isn't 1, it's going to be 7. Okay, so 0, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you can have up to 12 independent levers being coordinated through just circuits like this. And that is probably about as cheaply as I can think about doing this. Maybe there's a cheaper way. You tell me, and we'll get back to the topic at hand once I heat up some more electrum, because I'm going to need some more ICs. How hot is this thing now? It is at 353. Let's try filling the furnace and let's see if it's hot enough for electrum. May not be yet, but let's give it a go. So, no, it's not hot enough yet. Temperature is 600. We need to wait for it to get to a decent pressure. Not sure what the pressure is for electrum. I need to go and look on the spreadsheet. I never remember this. But I can let it heat up for a little while, and well, not heat up, but pressurize for a little while, and we'll see if it actually comes up with electrum. Yeah, I looked at the temperature, and it's going to need to be 427 degrees Celsius, but that's probably going to need about 550 in the tank, because it never quite equals out in the furnace. Never quite figured out why, but as long as I account for an extra 100 degrees. So in the meantime, I've actually disconnected our power, and we've now got this. We've got the hydraulic pipe bender trigger, and you'll see using our handy little tablet, let me just put this back away, handy little tablet, we can tell that it has a setting and it's set to 0 at the moment. So we do need one quick change to the program, but no other changes. We don't want to load in the PMotion setting, not activate. Okay, I think. Okay, and the same thing here. Setting. And we'll add an extra line just to keep things clearer. And setting again. Wish it wouldn't remove that extra line whenever I press backspace. And hopefully will that do? Let's just export this. And let's try and move stuff into the middle. In fact, whoops. That happened last time I tried that as well. Let me just grab some gratings and see whether hopefully these will actually work even with the gratings. Oh no, that doesn't look good. Well, we'll see. If that doesn't look good, that needs to be improved, because those pressure plates should allow you to have floor gratings. It's crazy if you can't do that. But let's finish off, just because I want to test them. And there may well be a large version of the trigger plate. Maybe that will stick above these. But let's whoops, get that right first. Oh, that's annoying. Drop that for a second. I really sort of wish it would remember which settings I've chosen for the various floor gratings. There we go. All right, so let's stand on it and let's see if it actually responds. It does. So even though it doesn't stick through the grating, it understands that you stood here. So that's actually pretty good. So stuff should be circulating around right now. There it comes. It comes in through our window chutes. And stuff will be coming out here. So now no longer need for that cable above us, and no need for these motion sensors. So that is a nicer solution, I think. Of course, you can put the motion sensors in the floor, but still, we are gradually improving things. And again, this came from a commenter. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but you know who you are. Thank you very much for the suggestion. I always forget about pressure plates. They were a later addition to the game. And I always used sensors before we got to that point. So I'll just put these back in a little cubby hole there and grab this back, turn it off. So that's an improvement. And then I can probably put these underground, but I want to wait until we got our requester station before considering about doing that. In any case, turn that off for now. And let's see how good or how bad our our furnace is coming along. Well, I do actually need to do another run through this furnace to get this to heat up much faster. That's 514 now. It needs to also go up to 800 kPa, and I think that's mislabeled. Oh, no, in fact, no, it's not. It's 1.044. I thought it was 1000 MPa. Nope, that would be horrible. In any case, so 516, not much longer to go. I remember rightly, it was about 550 because I remember doing this in an earlier episode. And if you try and pressurize it before that point, it just doesn't get high enough to melt. But when it gets to 800, that is. And just pop you back in here. Things are looking a lot cleaner. I think we can make it even cleaner once that goes underground. In any case, back to IC work and back to electrum printing. Oh, someone did mention, by the way, they thought they'd seen a ghost in my videos. There's occasionally sort of you may have just seen it if you rewind the video. You see a sort of drifting atmospheric effect. I don't know if it's random. Oh, there it is, just below me. You see how you see the texture change across the floor there? Don't actually know what that is. I assume it's just an atmospheric effect that's random, or it could be something from my suit, I guess, but my suit should be pretty closed. And I don't think that's going to be water, unless it's some kind of vapor. In any case, if you've seen that in your game, do let me know if you know what it is. In any case, back to watching the electrum, the electrum furnace heat up. And here we approach. Well, as soon as we get to 800, we should be able to, yep, there we go, pull the handle. And we get electrum. Close off the furnace. And let's just dump this back into our system. That should evacuate pretty quickly. I can just leave it open. There's no need to rush there. And we've got 80 grams or whatever it is of electrum, which we can just dump back into our system. And we can do that, whoops, right around here. So again, I don't need to be worried about a motion sensor anymore. I can just pull this, and that should insert it straight into our electroprint, because that's the last thing that we actually got to. Here we go. So that should have made its way in. And there we go. We've got 7 things to worry about. Okay, so we need to find what I wanted. I wanted the ICs, didn't I? So I want 3 of them. I mainly used 2 just to demonstrate the concept, but there's no problem either way. Let's just build those, and they're a little bit slow to build. So what I thought I was going to do here, we're going to be taking the chute work out of this thing, probably going underground eventually, but for now we'll just send it up here and then across, and then it's going to come into this sorter right here. Have I got any chutes already? I thought I left some around the base. I may have put them away. Are they down here? I thought they were down here. Ah, there they are. Okay, and let me just swap this over. Got some extra cable coil just from all the savings and cleanup. So, yep. Now, there was some sensors down here to tell me what the battery level was, but that was only for the gas generator, and we need to come back to that once I've got something a little bit more sensible going on. So, in the meantime, however, we're going to want to, I think we'll just bring this up. So, let's just put a corner pointing up. And it's 2 pieces to get to the level that we've got over there. So, let's just go to that 1 and 2. And then a chute corner piece. And we'll point it back that way. It needs to come over 1, doesn't it? Yeah, so let's just bring it over 1. Now, let's just drop that over here. Where's my tool set? There we go. Bring it over 1. And then back over here. We could just move the sorter as well. In fact, I'll leave it for now. That's fine, just in case I need some extra room. But you get the idea, and we're just going to go some windows pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're probably going to need 4 more pieces there, but that's not a problem. How many of these this built so far? 2. So why don't I just make sure I switch this out? Oh, it ran out of gold. Okay, I guess we're building 2 of these things today. Fine. So we're going to need a location for the IC side of things, and it doesn't really much matter where we put this. Sort of inconvenient that the stuff is on this side, but it doesn't matter too much because I'm not going to need the on off, so I'll just turn that on for a second. And let me just get rid of this pipe and just store things properly. So I'm just going to run a power supply from here, and let's just grab our snips. And that's not really liking that. There we go. Okay, straight piece. That probably will have cut off in... Did I cut off our entire base? Yeah, doesn't matter. Excuse me. There we go. So our sorter's on, and not yet sorted, but otherwise that needs a bit of a cleanup, doesn't it? This was the old sensors for the power. We have much better ways of doing that, so I will come back to those in a short while after just running a nice new power circuit. There we go. And we're probably going to want an offshoot here for the ICs and the computer at some point. So if we think about maybe, because the stuff I want is going to come out of this one, and the rest is going to continue this way and then down. So maybe if we think about putting a block here, or well, it doesn't much matter where we put it really. We could also put it on that side. Those iron frames, by the way, not steel ones, which is why I haven't welded them. I didn't have any iron ones made up. So why don't we leave the computer where it is, because it should be connected on the same network, and think about putting our ICs kind of around about here. So let's put a junction this way. There we go, and then just connect it with a straight piece. And yeah, we can send it this way. Do I need more space? I probably need a little bit more space. So why don't we just grab that, and we'll send it. We'll send them going the opposite way, and probably put them side by side. So I'll fill that in, and we'll put some housings down, and then get started on the computer work. And now for the computer bits. Don't worry, it's not going to be all that complicated this time, at least not for most of it. We can copy most of the other program in a second, but we've got switches now set up. We've got iron, gold, copper, steel, silicon, nickel. Those are connected to the pins on the first one. There you go, steel, nickel, silicon, nickel. And we've also got electrum, and electrum is just coming from up there, and then you've got 5 more spaces. Okay. So, the middle one, however, we're going to just connect this first pin, it's ingot setting 1 IC, which is this one, and this top pin here, just for visual effect, to this one, ingot setting 2 IC. So we're just going to be able to read in for both of those, and then we need to interpret them. So first of all, let's look at the settings IC. This one's actually quite simple. So let's just edit this program. And you'll see I've just given them aliases, just so I know that those are the things being requested. And all we're really going to do is need to assess each of those things. So we're going to need to do something like just a repeated section here, and it won't take very much time. So what we're going to do is load. It's not a slot, so let's just look at the load syntax. Always beneficial, just to remind yourself. And we'll load into R0 because we need that as a register. And we can use D0, but in this case we can just use RIN, just to make it easier for you to understand, and the setting. Okay, so the setting is whether that switch is set to 0 or 1. Same thing with buttons, but buttons are momentary things, and you'd have to have extra code. Levers are either on or off, and they'll stay in those positions. So that's a nice thing to do. All right, so we've loaded it into R0, and we want to check whether that is equal to 1. So if, let's just see, B equal maybe? Yeah, branch to line C if A equals B, maybe? Well, yeah, there may be an easier way than doing that. BLEZ? No, let's just go with BEQ. Okay, so BEQ. So branch to line C if A equals B. So R0, 1. And then branch to line 10. We're going to jump the next line. And if it isn't, this is going to jump anyway. So we're going to jump to, let's say, so line 10 is going to be jump to the end. And line 9 is just going to be jump to 11. So there's easier ways to probably split this around, but you get the idea. We're going to load it in. If it equals 1, we're going to jump over this and jump straight to the end. We need to add one more thing in there. One more line. We're going to need to set the device to whatever we think iron should be. So in this case, it should be 1. And when I start off this program, I'm going to set... let's put it start here. Yeah, there we go. So if that's the start, before the start, I actually want to probably set the dB to 0. Or maybe I should do that at the start of every one of these. Let's see. If we jump to the end each time, it's going to need to reassess every time if the levers have changed. So if all levers equal 0, I need something near the end to set them correctly. We'll worry about that a little bit later. But I've got the basic thing here, basically saying if the lever is open, I have pulled it, then if it equals 1, jump to line, it's going to be line 12 now. And that's going to need to change as well. Okay, jump to line 12, which sets the database, sets the device base to 1, and then jumps to the end, or at least jumps to whatever we should call it. Not quite sure what the end is going to be. I'll leave it for now. And let's just say, I don't know, line 50, and we'll edit it later. Okay, so for each of those, we're going to do the same thing. If it isn't equal to 1, it's going to jump over and back to this line 50. So it's just going to skip this instruction and set the device base to 1. Okay, so I rewrote that a little bit to make it a little bit easier to understand and also to exploit fall through and various other bits and pieces. So this should be quite clean now, hopefully. People may still actually find a better way of doing this, but let's give it a go. So we've got each of the sections now, and I've rewritten the instructions just so this is a little bit easier to understand, and it should be as clean as I can get it. So we're going to load in the iron switch setting. We're going to say, is this iron switch setting equal to 0 instead of it's equal to 1 this time? It's easier doing it this way around. So if it equals to 0, in fact, we can just do 2 there, I think, rather than 3. Yeah. We're going to say jump forwards 2 lines. BREQ, i.e. relative branch. I think that's what relative does anyway, but that seems to make sense. So jump forward 2 lines, skipping us setting the device base to 1. We go through the next one, skip forward 2, setting it to 2. Otherwise, i.e. if this equals 1, if I pull the switch, it's going to hit line 15 and then carry on. So each of these is going to go through each of the sections, all doing the same thing, except setting it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then at the bottom we're just going to assess whether each of those is pulled. So if number 1 is pulled, go back to the start. If number 2 is pulled, go back to the start, etc. So if any of them are pulled, it's going to go straight back to the start. If they're not pulled, i.e. if they're all 0, if they're all blank, we're going to set the base to 0 and then jump back to the start anyway. So if I confirm that and export it, just to make sure this is working, set to 0 at the moment. If I pull handle 3, copper, it's going to say 3. Okay. If I pull handle 5, it should say 5. Yeah, and now here's the here's the thing. It's going to take the highest setting. So whichever one you've pulled, if I just close copper again, you should see it's still 5. Pull copper. Ooh, yeah, it will say 3 momentarily because it's going through this every half second, but then it'll go back to 5. So do make sure only to pull 1 handle, otherwise you need a lot more code. So that's the code for that, and all we need to do really is just edit this, copy it, and confirm. And then we just need to go to setting 2 IC, and let's actually just export this. It's going to object because I don't have anything on all of them. Yeah, and I am actually requesting electrum into number 1, and the rest of the variables are not there. So for that, all you need to do is just eliminate a lot of these lines. Unfortunately, I can't really copy and paste that very well, so it's going to have to go via paste bin and back again. So 1 second. There we go, it's saying 7. or 0. I've only got one switch, but it's trivial to just change the program, just chop out the bits you don't need. Well, in this case, we only need to assess one switch to see if it's on or not. And you can do this even simpler with just one switch, but you get the idea. It's probably going to have a few switches, but just in my case, I've customized this for one, so that is going to be fine. Let's go back to setting 1 IC, if I can select it. There we go. And import. There we go. Back to this again. So then we got the thing in the middle. And I don't think I'm going to basically add the program for... in fact, well, we may be able to. Let's just take a look. Request IC import. Yeah, it doesn't have anything in it at the moment. So if we just go across to the library for a second, and I'm just going to pull in my ore sorting. Yeah, is that what I wanted? Was it ore sorting? I think it was. So this one is doing alias sorter D0. That's not what we actually want here. So the sorter is going to have to be a different pin. Let's say that's pin 1, which means we probably want the sorter. So we want the couple of others for. In fact, let's make it at the last pin, just so that I can keep this all aligned. And hopefully I don't address D5 anywhere else. So alias settings 1 is D0, and alias settings 2 is D1. Okay, so whoops, then we can just do the rest of this. We're going to have to hook up this sorter to the to all of this. So I'm going to just need a renamer tool. And let's name this Ingot request or Ingot dump sorter. Okay, that will do. Pop you back in here, and now we're going to need to connect it. So I'm just going to need my tool, and we're going to put on this pin. Remember, so I'm just going to go backwards through these. Usually it's relatively close to the back. Are you going to be close to the back? Ingot dump sorter. Oops, there it is. Ingot dump sorter. Hit that on the head, just as we actually got that. Fine. So we got the sorter now, and we're going to then need to connect everything up. Let me just check the programming. So yeah, the sorter output is 0, and this is now really looking to see if it's iron or nickel, and we don't exactly want that. What we really want to do is depend on what this setting is. So first of all, we need to deal with those settings. So just temporarily, I'm going to skip R0 because R0 is used further down. So let's load into R1, settings 1. Okay, and let's load into R2, settings 2. Okay, and now again, we're going to have to let one take precedence. We're going to have to say, if the first one comes through, then we're going to need to use that instead. So again, we'll use branch, maybe relative, and we're going to look. Let's just bring that back up again so you can see the functions. Relative branch to line C if A equals B. So if we say if A equals B, so if relative branch R1 is 0, then we can jump forward 2 lines. Otherwise, we're going to load into R3 the actual setting, so the value. So that is going to be, in fact, we can just use D0, but settings 1 will do it. So settings 1, and is this going to need to be the setting as L? I almost forget what L. Yeah, we need the actual setting. So this is going to be the setting of the base device on each of those cases. Setting. Okay. And in this case, I just want to move that value into... In fact, it doesn't matter. We can just use the same instruction. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to load into R3. Yeah, we can use R3 again. Settings 2. Setting. Okay, so all this does is say, is the first set of switches, are they 0? Is there no switches open? If so, jump the next line. So we know that setting 1 is going to be 0 anyway, so we jump to using settings 2, and if that's 0, hey, everything's 0. So what we want to do is maybe just say, you know, if if that is the case, we're just going to say if R3 is 0, jump back to start. And let's say the start is here. So start. All right. And that is just checking to see what's being requested. If it's not 0, it's going to keep going. And this is where we may need to change this program. Okay, and changing the program, I'm only going to make this work for iron. You can extend this to all the others. I just need to go and get all those hashes, and they are on the wiki apparently, so you can go and look for all the hashes yourself. But I'm just going to do iron, and then you can get the idea here. All we're going to say is we can't use BEQ. What we need to do is BRNEQ, I think. BRNE, sorry. BRNE. Or branch relative if not equal. Okay, so what we're basically saying is if R3 equals 1, and 1's iron, remember, the first switch, then we are going to branch 2 lines. Okay, so we're going to skip this next line. This next line is literally going to do exactly what we've got down here. So we're going to set R0 to that hash. So is it just move? Let's have a look. Is it move? MOV? Move. Yeah, so we can just write it in there. So move R0 183 021 8956. And then just we need to assess the same thing for any other values. We just repeat this block right here. You know, so repeat this as needed. Repeat below as needed. Yeah. Okay. And then what we're going to do is sort of the rest of the program. So we don't need these. What we're going to, so we can just take these lines out for a second because we're assessing. In fact, no, actually, we do need those. Whoops. Let me just put that back. R0. We're going to. Do we actually need these? 021 8956. Let's take a look at that code again. So it's setting everything back to. It's going to reset the sorter. And then it's going to read in, no, R0, that's going to, yeah. We don't need the, well, we do need the occupant hash. Interesting. 1 second, let me just check this. Yeah, so a slight change. I took up both of those lines that were directly comparing the hash. I've moved the value of iron into R15, just so it's out of the way. And you can reuse the R15 value all the way through your repeated blocks, whatever you want to put in there. And then down here at 17, we're going to see if R0, which is the sorter's occupant, is equal to R15, i.e. if there's iron ingots, and it's iron ingots, which is this, then sort. So it's going to jump to sort, which is going to output to the side facing me, and then loop. We don't need to worry about loop, because that will hit that here. So it'll hit yield, hit jump 0, and it'll go all the way back to the top again. Okay, I'm relatively happy with that. There may be some, well, yeah, errors. What is it now saying? If you have a look at this, screwdriver is not type programmable chip. Yeah, you're right. Can you give me the actual error though? That would be nice. They used to give the errors when you hovered over them. They don't now. Okay, there should be something simple in here anyway. So let me just check that out and correct. That was a simple one. I basically had alias settings 2 equal to D1. That should be D3 because I moved it to the top right pin, didn't I? So hopefully now this will then actually vend. So if I just, let's see, if we pull ingot iron request, this should be set to 1. It is. This should be set to 0. It is. Which means the middle thing should then vend. So if I just grab, do I have any iron spare? That's the usual problem I've got here. No, it's in the system. You know that problem when you've got something in the system and you want to get it out, but you need to actually hook everything up to do so. Well, this is going to dump everything out, but it's worthwhile testing, I guess. So let's just grab this. Let me just put that away. There we go. So if we just bring this across into a window, and yeah, let's bring that down. And another window. Now, I don't have a pressure plate yet, but because we can do exactly the same approach with a pressure plate as the rest, what we can do is push the button on either of those two stations, because it's going to pull from this last station if this last station has something in it. It doesn't right now, so in this case, let's see. Yeah, if we stand on this, it's going to start pulling stuff towards this station. Okay, and now everything should be set up on this side. And if I just grab some more chutes, just so we can differentiate the result. I've got some more chutes over here, hopefully, somewhere. No. Did I use them all up? There'll be some around. I'll just nick more if necessary. Okay, let's just grab some more from over here. I probably have just put them on the floor somewhere, but that's not a problem. I need 3. Because if anything comes out of this this left-hand side as we look that way, i.e. the pass-through side, then we want to know about it, because we just want to dump stuff this way, let's say. Okay, so let's then stand on, if this is active, then hopefully an ingot of iron should drop there. Testing this is going to be a bit of a problem, but yeah, let's give it a go. So I'm now requesting stuff, and I can't really tell what's going on. That's entirely fine. So around it's going to the other sorter. Hopefully I have setting everything up correctly, and the system should now be empty anyway. Uh-oh. It's still in the mode which splits things. Okay, so it's not quite right yet. Are you ready? I fixed a couple of bugs. Electrum. Well, it doesn't really matter what we put in here. Gold. Yep. So all coming out the reject pile. Iron. In it goes. Oh, it's gone. It's back on the accepted pile. Good. Good. That's exactly what we want. Okay. Now, just to explain quickly what the changes are. Not many. All I need to do is do a bit of extra checking up here. So we're going to check whether the first set of switches is equal to 0. So we're going to jump to checking the second set of switches. And if they're 0, we're going to jump to going back to, let's have a look, jump to 13. So yeah, we're going to jump to here, which basically sets R3 to 0, because we know that both of the sets of switches are 0 now. And then it carries on through the rest of the program. If, however, either of those are not 0, they're going to jump through, they're going to load into R3, the setting, and then jump to 14, i.e. they're going to jump over this 0. So this is sort of like an and, if something and something equals 0 kind of thing. And that will just assess what your switches are. And then down here, we're going to basically, and those of you who spotted I used the hash for the ore ingot, the ore iron. Yes, that was one of the bugs. Change this to the actual ingot hash and everything will work. So then down here we've got the rest of the code that goes through in a very, very similar fashion. And that's pretty much it. We've got everything built now. All I need to do, and I'll leave that as an exercise for you guys. First of all, I need to add another pressure plate there, so I can pull a lever and then step on a pressure plate, or indeed another lever if you really want to do it that way. I suppose you could do this so that it takes those values over there, and if any of them are pulled, you could use that as an alternative to a pressure plate. But in any case, the pressure plate makes things a little bit easier because it's not being used by this code. what you would have to do is take in, well, I guess what you could do, that's be an interesting one. You could, instead of, I'm storing this hash on there at the moment, so if we just change that, instead of storing the hash, where is it? It's SDB somewhere. There it was. I actually removed that, so that's not effective at the moment. That's not happening. If instead of doing that, we then just store db setting R3 and export, what you should see is that state right there. Now, what you could then do is in the code for this chip that's over here, right here, instead of using that, or like a trigger plate, all you need to check is if it's not 0. And if it's not 0, then that essentially trigger the same set of code that you used previously. Oh, why does that keep happening? No idea. But yeah, so you trigger the same set of code. You set all 3 levers now to down, and it will cycle through to here and come through, and then your ingot that you want will drop here. The rest will go around. Now, if you don't do anything else, that will continue circulating. So you need to pull the handle back up again, and then that will be that will reset the system, and then you can go and stand on another pressure plate, and then it will just set the levers again correctly. I'll leave that as an exercise. I will probably show it to you at the start of the next episode because it's useful to at least show you that it does work. But we've got a system now that can selectively pull any ingot that we want out of the system. You just have to enter the hashes that you want to be able to pull out, and everything is working. So I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, otherwise, what you're got to be careful of, however, that's an interesting bug. And I'll leave this for an exercise for you as well, because I know I've got commenters who like to solve these kind of things. If you have all of these down, and for some reason you want to cycle from this machine back to that machine, it's going to go through all of this. And if that's the case, then it will go back into the mode where it alternates between the two. That's not what we want. So exercise for you guys, change the code, see if it works, so that if this is set to 0, and in fact, that's a little bit of another bug as well. That's not resetting. Anyway, I'll fix that start the next episode. But you want to set this so that if it's 0, then everything's going to go out the reject line, not alternate. So you have to change the sorter code. I'll show you a solution next episode. But in the meantime, you have that going because we're out of time, unfortunately. So hope you enjoyed the episode. We've got a request station working. We just have to now make it part of the loop with those couple of changes that I mentioned. And I'm sure a lot of you will have fun tearing my code to pieces as usual. Okay, so hope you liked the episode. Feel free to thumbs up if you have. Subscribe if you aren't already a subscriber, or follow me on Twitter at Greyduster. And of course, you can click the bell if you prefer not to use Twitter, and you get notifications that way. YouTube is being a bit weird with showing people notifications or not. So if you do want to see notifications, please click the bell. If you don't, unclick it. That's as easy as that, really. Otherwise, as always, guys, thanks for watching.